Hey, what's going on YouTube? Alabama Reloader here. So we had the marathon reloading session that took place a few days back, and then we had the marathon range day that ensued, that followed. I'm working on some 300 blackout right now, using some CFE BOK or CFE black, whatever. I loaded up some more of the 220 grain Lapua CNARs. Loaded those up. Originally, let's get this powder dumped here. We're loading up some supers right now. But I loaded up some more Lapuas, subsonic, and when I first loaded them up, it's these guys right over here, by the way. When I first loaded them up, I mean, look at that. It's a big honking bullet down in a 300 blackout case. When I first loaded them up and shot them, Lord knows where that was. Oh yeah, somewhere over here. Yeah, I think it was that one right there, that group. So they weren't perfect, round bullet holes. You had, it's showing some signs of stability issues, but I mean, it's not keyholing. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna not load those up anymore. I'm just gonna have those sitting off to the side. Well, crap, I mean, I ain't got anything to do with them, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't have anything that'll shoot them except for my 300 blackout. And so I went back and was like, you know what, I'll load up. I did 12.1 grains, which is what Hodgdon's website called for. That's the 10-shot group there. I think it was 10 that I loaded up and shot. But so I did 12.1 grains originally, which is what Hodgdon, that's it. That's the only load data on their website for CFE BLK, CFE black, for that 220 grain projectile. It's 12.1 grains, and that's it as a subsonic load. Well, that's using a 16-inch barrel, and ours is not 16 inches. So we had to make some adjustments. I figured my velocity was on the lower end when I shot that original group, so I went back and I finally took the chronograph on this range trip, and I bumped the charge up to 12.5. And let's see, my average velocity for the 10 shots was 1,082 feet per second. So I want to hover around the 1,050 feet per second mark. That's a good number to hang around for subsonics. So I'm actually going to bump that down with this next 10-shot group that I'm loading up, that I've got loaded. I did 12.3 grains. So it's these 10 right here. I did 12.3. That should land me basically right where I want to be. And so we'll just roll with that. And I've got several of those 220s left. So, I mean, I'm just going to keep loading them. And they're just fun to shoot, fun to reload for, fun to shoot. So it's not like I'm keyholing, so I think I'll be okay. But yeah, that was the 300 blackout stuff. So those were my subsonics. And then I switched over, and it's actually these 10 right here. I think that one fits in here. Not that one. Yeah, I believe that was right. So those guys, they averaged 18, it was over 1,800 feet per second. Were my supers, my 130 grain Barnes tip TSX supers. Again, we're lagging behind the website and velocity by a little over 200 feet per second, which is to be expected when I'm running an 8.5-inch barrel versus a 16. So we're giving up a lot of velocity on our supers, but still fun to load for, fun to shoot. Had the stuff sitting around, so might as well. Now on to sort of the main topic of conversation. Now we got 300 blackout kind of out of the way. Was this box, and mostly these groups up here. The bottom 4, those are all groups that I shot using the 70 grain Speer semi-point for 22-250. It's this guy right here. All right, I loaded up some 4 or 5 shot groups in 22-250 using H380 as the powder. Oh yeah, my toes are painted, or were painted. That's what happens when you have a daughter. So I loaded those up. I was a little worried. If you go and watch Johnny's Reload Bench, he's got a video on 22-250 reloading, and he tried several different bullet weights in his first video that he posted, and he had tried, I think, a 53 grain VMAX or something like that, and then like a 62 grain. I think he tried the Speer Gold Dot, the 62 grain, and just didn't have any luck as far as getting them to stabilize and shoot halfway decent groups. And I thought I was going to have the same issue, you know, with that very first group. I was like, all right, looks like they're not going to shoot. But I'd already loaded everything, and I'm like, well, the hell with it. I'm already out here. I'm not going to pull these bullets. I might as well just shoot. And it actually, the higher our velocity went, the higher the charge weight went, which was the max up here. The groups improved, you know, quite a bit. So that's something we're gonna, and you know, bullet holes all look round, no issues there as far as stability goes. So we're gonna keep exploring the 70 grain semi-point on the Speer stuff for 22-250. Now the 6.5 Creedmoor, a little bit more, just kind of results. You know, it was a little more disappointing again. And all these group sizes, all the groups here, they don't have the bullet diameter subtracted from them. So any of the numbers written down, just know that it's actually, the group's a little bit tighter than that. But I mean, if you look, so these were the 129 SSTs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups there. You know, you got your best one coming in right there, which is not terrible. It's sandwiched in between a couple of, after you subtract the bullet diameter, those are going to be right about 1.1 inches. And then you throw one in there, you know, probably 0.8 something or whatever that group size is. So, you know, not terrible for a hunting round. I thought we'd have a little better luck, a little tighter groups. On the 140s, you know, our 2 best groups were down here on the bottom end of the range on the charge weight. So maybe that's something, you know, and they just kind of got worse as we went there. A couple of 1.6s and then 1.5. Those never really got any better after our first 2 groups. So maybe that's something, you know, on the lower end, the 140s, if I drop my charge weights a little bit, maybe they'll tighten up and shoot really good groups. But so that's it on the 6.5 Creedmoor. We were shooting the 140 grain. These guys, the 140 grain A-Max, which I think are discontinued now, and those guys, the 129 SSTs. Okay, that's what we were shooting. And so I went in, you know, hopeful for the 6.5 Creedmoor. I thought we'd have better results than we did. After that performance with the lower weight bullets, the 120 Gold Dot right over here, the 120 Gold Dot and the 125 Partition, you know, those groups, I just didn't even want to put, you know, calipers on them. But looking at them now, you know, they don't look much worse than what we got here. So I don't know. It is what it is. But yeah, so, and the 140 ended up, the average group size ended up slightly better than the 129, because that last group, man, that really kind of destroyed it when you throw in that guy right there, and then, you know, ends up being 2 1/4 inches. You kind of destroy your average group size there. But whatever. So again, the results weren't super impressive. Nothing to write home about. Now moving on to so our 308, the 168 grain, gold dots in the for the FNAR. This, we were running Varget and the 168 gold dots. Obviously, that is not a bullet powder combination that this rifle likes. So the hunt continues. We're gonna try some different bullets. I've got some 180s, some Spear boat tail saw points, some 180s sitting around, and I also have, and I just bought these just to give them a try. These guys, they're new 190s for the impact. Now this is more geared towards not the the 308. This is they do have, Spear does have load data for it. They did send it to me. But with my 16-inch barrel, we're not necessarily using this bullet as it was intended. Okay, this is supposed to compete with the Game Changer, that Sierra put out, the ELDX that Hornady has. I mean, this is kind of in line with that type of bullet design, right? So you've got the polymer tip. It's a little bit longer bullet design. So I mean, that's what it's geared towards. And so going at this thing with a 16-inch barrel and a 308, you're not taking advantage of what that bullet was actually designed for. Man, that thing's designed for some velocity, and we are going to be giving up velocity with the shortened barrel. But they did send me load data, and they do have it in 308. So I was like, sure, why not? Let's give it a try. I've got a 1 in 12 twist barrel, and those bullets are kind of long, so it had me worried. But I loaded up 5 shots just to see if they would even stabilize. And that's what these 5 are. Now, Lord knows it's ugly. It's an ugly 5-shot group. By no means is it, even close. But the fact that they stabilized is what I was looking for. So now we can take that and we can run with our 180s and our 190s, and we will just try different powder combinations. We'll try to see if we can come up with some decent groups. If we can close in on that 1 MOA accuracy kind of guarantee that FN threw out there with this rifle. When you use, they caveat it with like premium ammunition or some, match grade, whatever. But we'll see if we can't develop a hand load for it that meets that specification. But so there was that. So didn't even again throw the calipers on these. Didn't feel the need to because the groups were pretty bad. Then we switched over to 338 Lapua mag, and these groups up here, these were the ones that I shot previously prior to me knowing that my scope base was loose. Found that out after the last range trip. Stuff starts rattling around. I'm like, what the, and I come to find out the base that my scope was mounted to was loose on the rifle. So I was pretty pissed because I had shot, I had burned through 338 Lapua components in general are not cheap. So you burn through several, probably, I think the grain load was, I started at like 97 grains and worked up to like 101.5 of Reloader 33 for this this load workup. So I mean, I'm burning through, 500, 600, roughly grains of powder. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at. So I basically lost all of that because my scope base was loose after the fact. So came back, regrouped, tightened everything down, let everything set, and remounted the scope. Came back, shot that 5-shot group there. So these bottom 4 groups are after the fact. Shot this group, and then I made a scope adjustment. So it's not a point of impact change. It was simply a scope adjustment. I came down, and I was like, holy smokes. Those 4 shots there, they measure 0.214. I think that's what that comes out to, something like that. Once you subtract, I think that's 0.214. and then you throw this one up here, and the group opens up. Yeah. So I was like, you got to be kidding me. But yeah, whatever that you subtract 338 from that, and you get that size, whatever that is. I can't do math right now in my head as I'm looking at it. But yeah, so you got that group size there with those 4, and then I threw the 5th one. What's going on, Mr. Snyder? See ya. And then, you know, I was like, well, crap, maybe that's a fluke, you know, because I didn't really have, you know, tight groups leading up to that. But then I follow it up with that group. I mean, just stacking them right in there. And again, that 0.890 is, you know, without subtracting the bullet diameter. So that one comes in at like 0.55 something inches. So really, really pleased with how the top 2 charges came out. And like I said, I think that ended up being 101.5 grains there for that guy. And I think that one was 101 of Reloader 33. And that was pushing the Spear 225 grain boat tail soft point. So way back when I loaded that guy up using that Spear bullet, that looks like a pretty promising hunting load, if you ask me. You know, if I'm gonna hit the deer woods and shoot an elk, you know, or something, that looks like a load I'd want to take into the woods with me there. So, and then I loaded up 5. You know, I had 5 groups using the Hornady, the 270 grain ELDX, and Hodgdon H1000. This bottom group kind of got messed up, but you can see that that's the 5 there. There's those 5. So they definitely tightened up. I had a couple of really pretty good groups here. So, you know, these of course will come in under 1 inch, which once you subtract the bullet diameter. So really happy there with those 2. And then the top, you know, kind of opened back up a little bit. Not too bad. It was interesting that I kind of boxed those there. I thought that was an interesting looking group. But yeah, so actually a pretty good range day. I came away pretty pleased with the results. I mean, I couldn't be happier with the 338. You know, when I put those first 6 groups through it, you know, with the Spear, and I was seeing, you know, nothing really to write home about. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm gonna burn a ton of money on this rifle setup and the components, and try to find something that shoots really well, and then to have it, you know, finish off with a couple of groups like that, and then down here hit pretty good on a couple of 270 grain ELDX groups. You know, I couldn't be happier there. We got a lot of work to do on 308. 300 blackout's just fun, and we're just gonna keep, you know, we're just gonna keep reloading and shooting that stuff. It's just fun to shoot. And the Creedmoor, we got a lot more work to do. We've got more bullets to test. Now we've got the 140 gold dots and the 143 ELDX coming up next, and then eventually we'll get around to some match stuff like the Lapua. So also for Todd B, I tested since I did finally take my chronograph, I was able to test my hunting load and my 6.5 Grendel. I know you had asked about the energy on what that was producing, because we killed 2 deer with that particular load this season in the 6.5 Grendel, and I was able to get a 5-shot string on it. Simply, I just didn't have any more loaded up, but I had a 5-shot group left, so ran that through the chronograph, and we averaged 2315, so 2,315 feet per second. So now I can go back, I can rerun the math. I think I might have calculated it at 2,200 feet per second, just because I didn't know. At the time, I didn't have velocity data, so I just kind of took my best guess. And that was, I think that might have been the energy level that I had told you was with that calculation. So we're at 2315. That was the velocity on that load. Using the 120 gold dots, using these guys, and it kicks butt. I mean, that thing is just a deer slayer. But we're going to continue to work up more loads with that. We're not going to stick just with the H322. I've got some other powders that are listed that we can run in that. So we'll just keep testing with that and see what we can come up with. But that's it. A long video today, guys. Sorry about that. But you ain't got anything else to do during the coronavirus, so might as well watch some reloading results videos. So that's it. That's all. Really good range day. Super excited about where we're heading and the things moving forward. So that's it. I hope y'all had a good one. And yeah, thanks for checking it out. And we'll see y'all next time.